Mercedes haven't been at the top of their game this season. The car isn't what it's meant to be, and this has handicapped the drivers for now. And if things couldn't get worse, it looks like Mercedes has also gotten themselves in some serious engine issues. Could the falling out of George Russell's car in Australia be the first of many reliability issues this season for Mercedes? Let's find out. The fact that George Russell's engine was unsalvageable after the fire on board his Mercedes W14 at the Australian Grand Prix quickly became clear. Mercedes has already determined the cause of the fire and does not seem to be concerned about the equipment's reliability. 2 Mercedes engines have already failed in 3 races of the 2023 Formula 1 season. In Saudi Arabia, the Mercedes engine of Lando Norris's McLaren broke down. This was due to a valve system problem, and it marked the beginning of Mercedes' reliability difficulties. When Russell's engine caught fire in Australia the next race, the fears proved confirmed. Russell's engine has been officially deemed broken and will no longer be operational. The Briton will not yet face a grid penalty because of this. Furthermore, the media states that Mercedes has discovered the source of the abrupt engine fire. It's thought to have been a piece of debris that went inside the engine. Toto Wolff, the team boss, said shortly after the incident occurred that something had most likely gotten into the cylinder. Mercedes engineers can now attest to this. An uncommon component had entered the combustion process of the engine. This resulted in a loss of power and the end of the race. The turbocharger and the MGUH were both damaged. The engine's other components are currently being investigated. The debris originated from a car component that was not a part of the sealed engine compartment. That may be a plus for Mercedes. The reason is not in the engine's design. Mercedes has thus further disclosed the degree of damage to George Russell's Australian Grand Prix power unit, which will result in grid penalties later this season. Mercedes preserved the electrical components of the power unit, but all mechanical components were unsalvageable due to debris rushing through the W14 and inflicting internal damage. With only 3 of the internal combustion engine, turbocharger, motor generator unit heat, and motor generator unit kinetic available per driver, and the Mercedes having moved on to its second of each after only 3 races, Russell is likely to face a penalty down the road. Are Mercedes going to be faced with more reliability problems down the road? Let us know your thoughts down below. But the engine problems Mercedes are experiencing aren't the biggest of Mercedes' problems, it seems, as Hamilton might be on his way out for Mercedes. Could you see Hamilton leaving Mercedes at the end of the season? Lewis Hamilton is now embroiled in a painful position with his Mercedes team. For the second season in a row, the British driver has a car that cannot contend for the World Championship. But the 7-time World Champion is determined to capture a record-breaking 8th crown. Gerhard Berger believes Hamilton might win his 8th championship with Ferrari. The new restrictions have drastically altered Mercedes' team. Last season, Hamilton finished 6th in the championship, more than 200 points behind world champion Max Verstappen. George Russell, the 38-year-old British driver's teammate, finished 4th in the championship, 35 points ahead of Hamilton. Again, Mercedes does not have the winning car this year, and so Gerhard Berger has an idea how Hamilton can get his 8th world title. He said, "Every racing driver wants to drive for Ferrari once, and almost all the good ones have been there. Ayrton Senna only didn't go to the Scuderia because he knew, I can never win there." Maybe Lewis feels the same way, but if he doesn't get a competitive car at Mercedes, if he doesn't see a place at Red Bull Racing, then it could be that he thinks, I don't want to stop yet, I want to try it again at Ferrari. But despite his own assertions that he intends to stay with Mercedes for the rest of his career, speculation over Lewis Hamilton's future in Formula 1 has intensified. But if the 7-time world champion retires in the next few years, or leaves for another team, who will fill the void? Mercedes' problems in the early stages of the Formula 1 season have raised questions about Lewis Hamilton's future in the sport. The 7-time world champion has expressed a desire to stay in Formula 1 for at least another 5 years, with a record-breaking 8th world championship in mind, to revenge the controversial defeat to Max Verstappen in 2021. However, the W14's lack of speed in comparison to the Red Bull RB19 has almost probably rendered championship chances this year obsolete, notwithstanding a podium finish at the Australian Grand Prix. Hamilton has already stated his intention to stay with Mercedes for life, but if the Briton decides to leave after a couple of seasons, who might the Silver Arrows replace him with? Let's take a look at some of the possibilities available, all of which come with restrictions. Some of these might please Mercedes fans, but some definitely won't. Sergio Perez might be an appealing choice for Mercedes if the team is searching for a competent, know-what-you're-getting replacement. The Mexican has had his run-ins with Max Verstappen, with tensions peaking at the Sao Paulo Grand Prix last season. And while the Dutchman has dominated the intra-team rivalry in the 2 seasons they've spent together so far, Perez has proven on numerous occasions that he does possess the raw speed to give the 2-time champion a headache. Perez is under contract with the Milton Keynes-based team until the end of 2024, and if his contract expires during Hamilton's departure, Mercedes could do much worse than sign him with George Russell. Charles Leclerc seems to be heading for another titleless season at Ferrari, and with reliability difficulties still lingering, a departure from the Scuderia at the conclusion of his contract next year would not be the most surprising scenario. Last season, his championship dreams were dashed by strategic blunders, and he finished 146 points behind Verstappen. Mercedes now seems to be a step back for the Monegasque, yet Leclerc would go knowing the Brackley-based team has the history to win championships in previous years. The fact that these two have shifted places in the pecking order since the start of the new regulatory age must also raise red flags, suggesting that the changeover wouldn't be the worst decision. However, questions about how pleased Leclerc would be by transferring from a squad he's made his own at Maranello to a Mercedes team sure to rally around Russell would surface. A similar issue might be posed to Lando Norris, and although the Briton is under contract until the end of 2025, McLaren's downward spiral could provide an escape path. Norris has made McLaren his team, and now, with rookie Oscar Piastri at his side, he is a true team leader in all aspects of the sport. However, if the Silver Arrow's fortunes change around, Mercedes would surely be a step up and would be difficult to pass down. Other drivers in the running may not be as apparent as the 3 named above, but they may be worth considering for Mercedes. Alex Albon has the potential to be an amazing driver for Mercedes. Since signing a new agreement with Williams last year, the former Red Bull driver has no more links to the World Championship winning constructor, paving the way for a transfer to Mercedes. With former Mercedes strategy director James Vowles coming over as team principal over the winter, and the power unit arrangement with Williams, established ties should allow for straightforward talks. The transition would undoubtedly be a step up, and Albon's performances since returning to the grid have been impressive. Albon also has a warm connection with Russell, which would aid Mercedes' quest back to the top. A move for the Thai British driver seems to be a no-lose situation. Esteban Ocon's contract with Alpine ends at the end of 2024, which might pave the way for a reunion with the German automaker. The Frenchman spent his youth career with Mercedes before being discharged when it became evident that there was no space for him in the team's F1 plans. However, team principal Toto Wolff remained with Ocon every step of the way, as he sought a fitting destination to pursue his career. Ocon's performances after returning from a 1-year hiatus demonstrate his natural brilliance, with his 2021 Hungarian Grand Prix triumph demonstrating his ability to perform under pressure. Given the prior relationships between the two companies, a move for Ocon would make sense, but it would largely rely on how both Mercedes and Alpine progress over the next year and a half. Given the way Aston Martin is on, Fernando Alonso may be less inclined to move to Mercedes if Hamilton leaves. The Spaniard has had a brilliant start to the season, with 3 podiums from 3 races, and with a Silverstone-based team at least level with Mercedes, a transfer may not make sense, but Alonso has previously surprised us. Daniel Ricciardo's absence from the grid this season demonstrates his desire to drive for one of F1's elite teams, and a position at Mercedes would undoubtedly pique the Australian's interest. But given his failures at McLaren, it's difficult to see Mercedes taking the risk when alternative possibilities are available. Mick Schumacher now enters the picture, with mutual familiarity having been established through his appointment to reserve driver for Russell and Hamilton this year. The German has F1 experience, and although a racing drive with the Silver Arrows would be a major step up, the familiarity for both team and driver might be a tough choice for Mercedes to pass down, even if just for a year until a long-term successor is sought. Given his recent output, it's exceedingly unlikely that Hamilton would depart in the near future, but Mercedes will have plenty of options if an opening suddenly has to be filled. Who would you like to see fill Hamilton's spot if he was to leave at the end of this or next year? Let us know your preferences in the comments down below. Thanks for watching today's video, and we'll see you in the next one.